off.
Is that it? Are we live?
That was awesome.
I was just thinking how professional that intro was.
That was amazing.
First episode. And
That
we had to
contrast.
go and blow it. Hello, everybody, and
Contrast,
welcome
though.
to Game of Nodes. This is a weekly podcast by Cosmos Validators about the cosmos. Opinions are fully our own, good and bad. And who have we got here? So I'm the Frey. Some people will know me as the founder of decentralized name service on Juno. And I'm joined by, sorry, I have a bit of a bad throat because, as some people will also know, I've had COVID this last week. But I'm joined by four of, in my opinion, the finest validators in the cosmos. Jabby, Nullmames, Usurper, Rhino, and Schultzy, also known as being behind Lavender 5. Fellas, would you like to introduce yourselves? I'll go in the order you are on my screen. Jabby?
Hey, I'm Joe. I run a bunch of validators, and you may have noticed my tweets on certain Cosmos topics.
Any particular topics
anything
that
familiar?
you've been particularly vocal on, Jabby,
I
or
think
involved in?
No, maybe
Prop
it was
14 or 15?
What was it?
What was that?
I don't know. Could be any topic.
No idea. Maybe we'll come.
NFTs,
Maybe we'll come back around to that one, huh? Yeah. All right. Cool. Null.
So I am Null Mames, and for the purpose of this show, I've shortened it to Null to just make it easier. And we are the representative here for King Nodes, and quite active around the whole of the Cosmos ecosystem that we're involved with, not everything. And just here to have a good old chat to some of our other great validators and see what we can come up with for a show.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Usurper.
Everybody, my name is, I guess, the Usurper for this. I'm one half of the Rhino team. Some of these guys have been involved in Cosmos for a few years and want to share some experiences and just thoughts on, being a validator in this ecosystem, what that means. Interaction with the community, I think, is really important. Governance is a big topic, and just discussion around that. And drink some bourbon, like those types of things. That's kind of what's going on here.
It's a pretty sound idea, that. And finally, Schultzy down the corner, the most handsome man on this stream.
Oh, thank you. So I'm Schultzy from Lavender 5 Nodes. I guess my focus is making the cosmos a more holistically wholesome place.
He's handsome and he's wholesome.
Jeez, what is that?
You
feel like an asshole now. Yeah.
we're all just here like, we're validators, we're here to do business. We're here to do business.
Yeah, exactly.
We're here
Right.
to do it well.
Wow.
And Schultzy's just like, just want to make a difference.
Just wanna-
The world is going to be a better place now.
That's right.
Every child you reach, that's the real goal. Maybe the real cosmos was the friends who made it. No, I need to stop making that joke. Okay, should we jump into our first question?
Yeah, man, let's go.
Sure. Yeah.
Theme. Okay, so we're going to probably make this a regular thing. We've got dumbest thing we've seen in crypto this week. Anybody want to go first?
I can't think of anything really. Really?
I don't want to go first. No.
Any topics here? I don't really know.
I'll go first, which is that I managed to bring down our Cerberus validator because I did a symlink wrong when initializing the node because I was full of COVID when I did it, and somehow it eluded me. So that was fun. Load of page duty, which I was like, that doesn't seem like a thing that would ever happen on a 1 terabyte disk, but it would fill up.
I don't think you are the first person to mess up a symlink. Maybe guilty of that myself.
Is that spoken from experience?
Yeah.
Free in the long list of dumbest things in cryptos this week, that is not even in the top 100, like 10,000.
No, to maybe take it to something that's a bit harmlessly, because there have been some things that have been controversial in the last week. something maybe less controversial and more harmless is obviously Stargaze had their Genesis mint. Anybody here get involved in that NFT business that the kids have been talking so much about?
Oh man, yeah,
Oh, man.
I've got an enormous bag of NFTs.
How many are we talking? What are we talking here?
That's probably an exaggeration. I think I probably ended up minting, I don't know, 10 to 15, I guess, because I don't know why.
Is he frozen or is he just
Yeah,
doesn't know why?
Yeah, right.
I was like, where's this going?
I was about to ask whether he had minted them all from one account or from multiple accounts to get around the cap on Stargaze punks, but that also might be a controversial topic.
It's a good question.
For the moment. Anybody else? Anybody else been minting NFTs?
You know, I didn't mint on Stargaze, but I minted on Secret. The Chameleonville mint finally happened. And they had, I don't know, like 10 1 out of 1 unique chameleons. And I happened to get the chameleon Squidward. That was my first mint. Because I was like, well, I guess I came out on top here. So it's like a mix between like Ringo, that one movie, animated film, and Squidward from SpongeBob. And so I'm like, I came out on top. I won. Done. Mint's over.
Nice. I managed to land one of the Juno t-shirt Stargaze punks completely by accident. I didn't even notice at the time, and I went back and was like, "Oh, I've got one, sweet." Although doesn't, obviously bear any resemblance to me, but that's fine. It's got apart from the t-shirt, it's got a t-shirt. And Noel's just sent a message saying, "I've exploded."
It's amazing.
Whatever that means.
I was able to get a Juno not before those went. There was only 500, and they seemed to go like within 30 seconds. So that was actually pretty lucky. And then I grabbed a bunch of bad kids. I don't know. And sometimes NFTs can somewhat look very similar, and I get like the rarity aspect of things, everything else. But Bad Kids was such a unique kind of approach to that I was kind of drawn to it a little bit. There he is. So I picked up a bunch of those, and then ended up picking up a Genesis Rat and a Stargaze Trooper, and then I ran out of Liquid Stars, and then I realized how much, and I did the math on how much stars I blew towards that after the fact when I ran out. But yeah, no, I think I minted 12 or 14 or something. It was a little clickathon actually.
Yeah, I minted a couple of glitch candies, which are obviously not cheap.
They're awesome.
I mean, they're awesome, but again, afterward, I kind of did the math, and I was like,
oh,
wait a second, what the fuck? I'm looking forward to explaining that to my accountant when I have to put that on a spreadsheet.
I have also had in Australia with a business for tax at the end of the financial year, you have to take account of everything that you've got and then pay tax on the appreciation. And
you mean like cars and buildings and...
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to value these NFTs. I don't know. What do you just go on like the value you bought them for? I don't
know. How to? I mean, this is a dumb question. I'm not really an NFT guy, but how do marketplaces work? Do they give you like a rough valuation, or is it all sealed bids? Or
I think so. I guess as a valuation, I guess you just go off your rarity and like the last sale price at one sort of around that rarity, I guess.
It feels like kind of a dubious way to have to pay taxes. It's like I've seen something similar to this thing that I have, therefore I would definitely like to pay more tax, please.
Right.
I mean, isn't that how it normally works?
Is that me having connectivity issues, or is that the Frey?
You.
But you can hear me.
Yeah, we can all hear you.
Yeah.
I can't see
you hear us.
It's almost like you're in an island in the middle of something.
I think this might be psychological rather than technical. It's just what happens when you're in Australia. But yeah, okay. So so obviously, yeah, on from NFTs. I think.
Well, just before you get off that, Freight, I thought that experience was awesome. I thought Stargaze and that team, like the responsiveness of it, the availability, like no issues, like it was a really nice mint. Same thing with what happened with Omniflix as well. I think it's to both those teams. It was really nice to be able to have like no issues and people just just buying those things like crazy, right?
Yeah, man.
So we had a little
did
bit
you
of,
have some involvement in the infrastructure side of that, or did I imagine that?
I'm helping with the RPC and the API side. So they set up like 90% of it, and I added some nodes and kind of helped with some of the just a little bit, not even the balancing, just a little bit, a little tweaking here and there. But I think just on the dashboard I have here, like in the last, since mint, which was the first mint was Friday, it's been like 55 million RPC API calls.
Wow, that's
which
pretty
is
impressive.
which is like impressive. And I think on that Friday night when it went, it was 2,300 a second. And then the Saturday night one, which was the second one, which I kind of missed out on. That was the one with like the audio components and those types of things. Because I didn't have any stars left over because I spent it all on Friday night. That one was like a little bit over 3,000 like API calls a second.
Wow.
So, but again, no complaints. I heard everybody had really good feedback on it, and I thought it was great. So, it was happy to be involved in that. It was really cool.
So, just
really
a question: was those API calls? Was that just for your infrastructure, or is that as a whole to the?
That's as a whole. So that comes in the, not to nerd out, but that's the point of this, right? So it comes into Cloudflare, and it does like a global distribution based off of geo, and then it has right now we have 3, but it eventually be 4 separate like geolocated structures where there's nodes. So for Mint, we had 18 nodes sitting behind that was load balancing across the globe.
And I understand
to take those calls.
There's actually so you had 18, and then Stargaze, they also had like quite a few.
No, I only had a few. They had I think 15 or 14 going. I added a few, and then I added some really high powered boxes to it and everything else. So we're kind of we're moving some stuff. Doesn't matter, but we're moving some stuff from more VPS to more bare metal and trying to bring the cost down, because like 18 nodes, as you guys know, in cloud systems is not cheap. So we're trying to get that down. And then the next piece is trying to get the community involved and bring other validators in to distribute that a little bit and find ways to not make it where it's just all foundation run type stuff. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's actually deeply impressive that you did it in 18 nodes. On Secret, they've used like 12 at a time, and Secret has started to slow down. So the fact that Stargaze was able to be as performant as it was with 18 is astounding. Very impressive.
Yeah, well, I know Jorge's been working on that.
Absolutely.
Preparation for this for a long time. So
it's awesome.
I suspect that potentially my RPC is behind that load balancer as well, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know actually. I have IPs, but I don't know if your name's on there or not. I have no idea. But
they have my domain. I'm not sure if I checked if it had any traffic or not.
Yeah, I mean, the real funny thing. I mean, Stargaze, it's just growing in popularity, right? So before that Mint, it was 2-3 hits a second, and then it went to 3,000, right? So you don't really know where it's going to go, and so you're just kind of throwing stuff at it to see, well, we want to make sure it's successful, right? And then now it's kind of balancing out to like 75 to 80, so we're like 25 times the traffic post Mint versus pre Mint, which is really interesting since, as people checking, I guess, and maybe kind of seeing what they have and pulling IPFS stuff and everything else.
Well, it's also the airdrop too, right? So now you can claim the rest of your airdrop. So there'll be a lot of people coming in, and with a bit of lag doing that as well, I suppose. Yeah,
on the 20th, I think is the second pickup on 320 for the Mint, and then when the marketplace opens, for buying and selling, that'll also. So we're trying to get some stuff ready for that. But again, not all this. But I saw that like it was a nice launch, right? And I think that team's done a great job across the board.
Well, this is the point of the show, man, to talk about this type of stuff. So
yeah, right.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah.
So there's also, of course, Omniflix, and did they open their marketplace yet?
I don't believe so. I don't think they've really progressed at all right now. Have they? Like
I didn't think they'd done the Mint, the Genesis mints yet. But I did see they had an update. I think it was this morning or overnight. I didn't get to fully read it, but I mean that network's underway as well, and we're all sort of sitting there ready for it to get underway as well.
Yeah, they're pretty similar and same type of approach, right? Like validators on, get the network stable, no massive auto compounding, whatever, right? Just
Well,
good
yeah, I
stability
think
and all that kind of stuff, and then kind of take a stepwise approach. I think I both, Shane and team and Sissel have done very similar.
I think
smart
they're going
approaches
with a
to that
very similar strategy.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I think that the strategy that Stargaze used for their launch was near perfect.
Yeah.
With avoiding that big compounding at the start is,
Yeah.
I think, key, and also keeping basically 0 liquid tokens before you do your LBP is also fantastic. Like they just managed it so well, and then all of the airdrops have been flawless on Stargaze, and I hope it's the same with Omniflix as well. Can't wait.
Sure it will be. I mean, they're very similar approaches, right? Like that team clearly knows how to build infrastructure too, like what they've done with claim sites and stake sites and everything else. Like it's those are great projects, so it's exciting.
I mean, it's also really interesting from like a technical perspective that they're, I guess, both betting on the launch with CosmWasm, build your product in CosmWasm or in smart contracts on top of that core platform, and move forward from there, rather than necessarily sort of working within the framework of the SDK as much as I think previous projects have done. Which is definitely a new paradigm. I mean, we benefited from it with the name service stuff. Like, I don't want to slag off any other projects exactly, other than to say like the speed of development to get something to market on Juno compared to chains that focus on doing one thing using native SDK modules is really quite noticeable, I think. Thinking of like things that I've seen that are coming along on Juno versus maybe what's happening on Desmos versus maybe what's happening on like Starname or something like that. And it feels like the speed of development just in Juno on its own is like really, really quick.
But I think
part of the CosmWasm thing, right?
But they're sort of like, that was the intention of the Cosmos SDK, right, though? So every chain has a purpose, and then Juno's purpose is rapid development and smart contracts. So it's permissionless, and you can do whatever the hell you want there, like on Ethereum. But the other networks, they might have sort of a slower cadence, but they're sort of working on something specific, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
sure, but what I mean is that if Desmos was launching today, or like starting to work on their project, or if Starname was starting to work on their project now, would they build it with the SDK or would they do it with CosmWasm? I wouldn't be too surprised if you're going to see more projects building with CosmWasm and doing a staged launch like we've seen for Omniflix and Stargaze, because that seems like a pretty de-risked way of building a chain, building a community. As long as people believe in the product and your roadmap and like where you say you're going, and you're transparent like those teams have been, seems like a pretty solid way of actually bootstrapping something of utility,
Yeah, agree.
Just my thought on that, I guess. But so the other thing this week, I think a lot of us have been participating in, is the Cerberus.
Yeah, how do you say that?
Cerberus.
I think technically, if we're talking Greek, then it'd be Cerberus, right?
Yeah,
maybe.
Latin is hard K, isn't it?
I think so.
C is hard K because Caesar, Kaiser, King, Tsar. You see it in loads of...
Sure, Cerberus.
Sure.
Let's go with Cerberus.
Sure.
Let's go
comes
with
from
Cerberus.
Greek, right?
What's that?
Cerberus is Greek, right?
I think it might be grandfathered in, but I thought it was the Roman guardian of the underworld, three-headed dog. No?
I thought it was the Greek guardian of the underworld.
I could be wrong.
If only we were all connected to the internet.
If only there was some kind of...
Is there like a centralized source of some sort?
Information.
Hey, as a matter of fact, in Greek mythology, Cerberus is often referred to as the Hound of Hades, a multi-headed dog that guards the gates of the underworld to prevent the dead from leaving.
Okay, so what is the accepted ancient Greek pronunciation for a C?
Isn't there a little hit the
It
speaker
says
thing?
it's got a K. When it's got the enunciation, it does have Cerberus.
I don't know
Okay.
whose interior.
I don't know what that
design-
Nick. I don't know what Nick's point is.
I think you need to be more
That's
specific.
I don't know if that's. I mean, No Names has a refrigerator of beer literally in the room that he's in, so I assume that's what he's talking about because that would be.
There's beer in there. Yeah.
Of course, there's beer in there. Like, maybe,
In fact, there might only be beer in there.
Yeah.
Like that's what
There's
he's
some-
talking about.
There's definitely some people. I mean, Jabby, to be fair, doesn't have a pupper in shot anymore, but that obviously is a strong incentive
That is.
for people to check that out.
That Discovery towel is nice though. I don't want to take it away from him.
It's not a towel. It's a cycling jersey.
Oh, never mind then. I thought it was a towel.
It's a Lance Armstrong vintage era scandal jersey.
Nice.
So it's a performance enhancing jersey.
It's a performance enhancing jersey. I actually have both of the Armstrong scandal jerseys. We've got just also American, obviously. You know, it's a Discovery and U.S. Postal Service. Here.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! Wow.
So voted by Cycling Weekly as the most tasteless jersey you can wear, the biggest faux pas on a group ride.
I would have bought it. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's actually a really great jersey as well. Fits really well. Very nice. And also shows that you're a big fan of winners, regardless of whether or not whatever you have to do to win. Maybe it was okay. No.
It's fine.
I think we've seen a bit of that lately.
I think so, yeah.
So do the Royal Mail trucks try to? Do they cut you off and everything when you're wearing that when you're wearing that USPS jersey over there, or no? They leave you alone.
Although there was obviously plenty of performance enhancing drugs in the British cycling, wasn't there? Oh, Papa. Sorry,
I saw him.
Very
That's
exciting.
Winston, right?
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
Winston. He wants out.
Like, get me out of here.
Like it.
He's like I'm already tired of this validator.
Show done.
But
So,
yeah.
if maybe just to get back on topic.
Well, how many? So my question is, how many meme chains can Cosmos sustain? Like realistically, 'Cause we've got-
Exactly 3.
We're gonna find out.
Exactly 3.
No.
No less.
It's anything plus Seahorse. Until Seahorse happens, we don't have enough meme chains.
Is it just
What-
meme chains, or are we also including like CW20, Juno
No, I don't think
drops
they
in
can.
there?
I mean natives. It's
that doesn't
Shitcoin
count?
natives. Yeah. No. CW20s don't count.
Yeah,
I mean,
think
just look to Binance Smart Chain and you will find your number. There are so
true.
many baby Doge Shiba Inu. It's just
But
Look,
there's also-
I'm so
yeah,
at least there's a little bit of effort required for a native, but anyone watching this, I guess as a warning, just with all the CW20s that are going to be coming out, and all the shitcoin frenzy, please be careful with your rugs. There's going to be a lot of rugs. It's just go look at BSC. This will be the same, permissionless. Anyone can launch a coin. Anyone can add a little bit of liquidity, pump it on Twitter, and then just rug you. So
well, as you said, for anyone watching, is it?
Yeah, we've got a few people watching.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, excellent.
So to clarify, wasn't the first rug like 2 days ago for Juno?
I
Yeah,
believe so.
Which one was
Like
that?
the check token or something like that? Not check
Oh,
as
that-
in, like the company, but they
Right,
Primo. That's right. They rebranded to Primo. You're right.
right.
They rebranded after the rug, or
No, they rebranded Check. So it was Check. It uses
Primo.
checked already their ticker, and then they rebranded to Primo.
Right.
I mean that entire situation. I don't know if you how closely you followed it, but it was pretty sus from beginning to end. I mean, I know, obviously, it's bad for the people that got rugged and stuff, but it did seem really sus, even on the usual scale of obvious kind of shitcoin. But the question is it's that thing of we're still so early on this that people are going to have to get more sophisticated than that, which was baby's first rug pull.
That's awesome.
Were you suggesting that people are going to have to get more sophisticated on their rug pulls? Is that what
I was just suggesting that- so that
Baby's first rug
hypothetically,
pull.
if I was going to execute a rug pull, I think it just got a bit more difficult, right? Because the first one was like the lowest possible effort rug pull that you could pull in this ecosystem. And now people will be slightly smart. Okay, maybe people will be slightly smarter.
If
don't
I
know.
were going to fraudulently steal
Fine.
people's money,
Yeah, exactly.
If I were
If I
going
planning
to
to steal your money, I would do it better than just stealing it. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
Wasn't it like a hilariously small amount too, like $10,000 worth? Like if you're gonna rug, at least go deep, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna rug, at least
Pull the-
rug for $1 million or
That's
more.
right. You pulled
or
the
don't rug
cord
at
too
all.
early.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. You
So-
gotta let it
so
go.
I mean, the rug really tied the Juno together. So.
really tight.
Well, you did sort of analyze it as my first rug pull, so maybe they've got it's
I
like a test round.
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
baby's first rug pull. I didn't
That's
say
perfect.
Sorry,
my.
baby. Sorry, not the front. Yeah.
Right, it wasn't.
baby's first rug.
It wasn't a small amount. Well, according to our viewers in the chat, it was 1,200 Juno, which
Okay,
is
Viewers, our viewer in the chat.
Yeah, you were
well, judging by the comments, it's a couple of viewers at least.
All right, Calendar doing great,
Um,
man. Keep it going.
impressive.
So, which all of you, if you had read the documentation for the streaming service that we're using that I sent you all over this afternoon, if you read the manual,
Of course,
you would know that you can deploy the comment thing yourselves and have a look at the comments.
it's awesome.
All I saw was just a link. Oh, geez, there are comments.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
I love it.
If anybody's wondering what validators look like when we're talking to each other behind the scenes, it's just this.
It's basically
Do
this.
you know, does anybody know if you can do X thing for
To be
replying?
honest, it is probably
Yeah.
like a good thing to have those comments there, so that I mean that makes sense. It makes sense now.
Awesome.
Thanks
But I
for
do
the
think
instruction.
back to that point. This year we're gonna how many chains are gonna launch? How many CW20s are gonna launch? How many promised airdrops? Like every one obviously is going to dilute, and here we're in the middle of March. By the end of this year, is any of this going to make any difference, right? And how are those things really going to separate themselves to have value or not have value or whatever? It's got to come back to utility at some point, right? Or back to Binance. Does it never need to come back to utility?
But so a native can do other things, like they basically at the moment all you can do at the moment on a CW20 is have a CW20 and then
Sure.
potentially rug someone. But on a with a native, you have like say take for example Chihuahua. I mean they're actually doing some development.
They
I
are.
believe the intention is to have WASM and I guess NFTs and other stuff. So, I mean, whilst other chains do that, I mean, there may be some benefit in having that on a meme chain as well. You can't do that with a CW20. You're just stuck with your coin and
That's
you
it.
know, there's no. So also with staking and staking rewards, I don't think you can really do that at the moment with the CW20.
You can do some stuff with derived tokens and staking, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's in the sense of like, do you get it for free? Is it just built into the protocol? No, and it's somewhat more complicated. But then the flip side of that is you can more easily, I guess, define your own behavior for that. But then you can also do that like in a much more sophisticated way. I mean, so this is like the interesting thing that's going to happen with. I mean, I don't know when they're ever actually going to sell it to a bank or whatever. But like the whole T-grade thing, I think is interesting for that reason, because they're basically rebuilding all of the native staking functionality, all of the native governance functionality as smart contracts, which are upgradable for starters, but also have like very interesting custom behavior and properties that you wouldn't necessarily be able to pull off in the same way with the SDK, or would be very difficult to develop. So
I guess potentially also there could be like a factor of safety with the shitcoin as a native as well, because there's resources and reputations on the line. So if you take, for example,
well, you're saying you can't just rug a shit chain because there's got to be a validator set.
Yeah, it's like a bit, it's a bit more difficult. Like you put time and effort and,
It is a bit different,
you're leveraging the trust of validators.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I
So
mean,
because all of us, I know, we did a lot of due diligence before validating.
And
a lot
Cerberus,
of
yeah,
due
exactly.
diligence before we aped
Cerberus,
into
right.
a shitcoin
Right.
Because
validator.
they sent us over a big prospectus, didn't
That's
they,
right.
with all of their 10-year goals.
That's
you
right.
know, where they're going to
Yep.
take the project, and
Sorry, I shouldn't say shitcoin either. It's not nice to the developers. I should say meme coin because that's what they are. They're meme coins.
There's a difference.
You're still off, Jabby, if you're trying to say something.
Yeah, you're mute.
just nodding.
So, shit chain is the new term.
Shit chain?
Oh.
And yeah. I thought you were just talking over me because you're Australian. Or rude. But
We say that with affection.
Sorry.
Like when we say
Also
shit
that.
chain, we mean no offense. It's affectionate
I mean,
shit chain.
it's
it's
actually
normal for a
Australian-
man your age.
It's an Australian
to have a shit chain
expression.
once in a while.
It's an Australian expression. It's meant as a term of endearment.
Exactly.
It's just a
Term
very
of
different culture. It's
right.
culturally a very different place. You know, in some ways 5-10 years behind the rest of the world.
Saying someone is the proprietor of a shit chain is probably highly respectable over here. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He called me a C word over the phone a while ago, and I took it to heart. I thought that was a really nice compliment. I
It
appreciate
was
it.
actually, it was just a welcome.
Yeah, it's just hey.
I mean, you're a contributor. I mean, sorry, I said the
Uh-huh.
C word. So sorry.
Yeah. You're a community contributor.
Exactly.
You're a real country music fan.
Did you know that because in the UK we have Cockney rhyming slang, right? The Cockney rhyming slang for that is Berkshire Hunt.
Oh, you don't say.
You don't say?
There you go.
Can you translate anything just on the fly? Or?
Pretty much. So, but there's the fun corollary of this is that the short form of that is Burke, which is the kind of thing that your aunt or your grandma might call you. But most people don't actually know that Burke is short for Berkshire Hunt. And so they're then, shock your elderly relative with this one easy trick is wait until somebody says it at Christmas and then inform them what they've just called their niece. It doesn't go down well. Anyway, that's the Cockney rhyming slang corner. I could do some Napoleonic sea shanty names. I have so many useless facts. I can't even tell.
I'm not sure if I have a stout or a porter here. Could you tell me more about
You back
the
up.
entire history of
More about
brewing,
that.
taxation, and delicious beers?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of stouts and porters, as you know. And yeah, no, very, very, very useful if you're moving house as well.
Lovely.
So we do actually have an agenda.
Do we?
Do we?
Yeah.
Of sorts.
But I mean, like, I don't know if you wanted to give us a lesson on anything, that's fine too. But so I did want to talk about EcoStake though. If anyone else wants to talk about
Why?
EcoStake,
Sure.
Well, REStake.
Just because they're awesome?
sorry,
Yeah,
an
jump-
incredible
EcoStake's-
tool that
EcoStake's
broadly
REStake.
solves
Sorry,
the problem.
yeah, I meant REStake, not
REStake by
as much
EcoStake.
as I like Tom.
I feel like we jumped 5 topics in there, did we not?
Well, actually, we already talked about Stargaze.
Did you want to hear? Did you want to re-go of the porter thing? Because I mean, we can do that.
Yeah, let's restake porter and stout. So in the 1 square mile of London,
See, Jabby knows. See, everybody knows this story. It's very, very. Everybody knows about the history of brewing. Yeah.
so we all have this
So-
common problem of we want our delegators to restake with us, and we've all solved it with various scripts or things. And then Tom from EcoStake, after arm surgery or something, is just like, you know what? I'm going to solve it for every chain forever. And I'm going to release it. And there's going to be no direct payment to me. So here you go. Like, that's how REStake was basically presented to all of us. And it's just,
It was
Absolutely.
the admirable thing to do. Let's
Yeah,
give it
right.
to everybody so that no one has the clear advantage.
I mean, that is
Right.
a very friendly thing to do.
It was great.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they EcoStake definitely deserve a lot of credit for developing that
Yeah.
very quickly and with absolutely no self-interest baked into it.
I mean,
Yeah, very-
in fairness, even without the potential surgery, giving them time to do it, Tom doxed where in the UK he lives, and I can tell you, I'm just gonna just like relentlessly sledge the place he lives because that's a very British thing to do. But there's fucking nothing to do in that town. I'm sorry. So, even if he was fully well, I once went there, right? I once went there, and all that happened was I had my wallet nicked and my girlfriend left me. That town fucking sucks.
At the same time, was it your girlfriend that took your
same
wallet?
night.
Did she
Same
nick
night.
it, or did the guy who nicked your wallet take your girlfriend?
So your girlfriend was restaked.
I mean, we can work out. There's a lot of different things that could have happened that night. It was very much, like that scene in The Simpsons where Marge asked Homer where he was the night before,
Yeah.
and he just like has this thing where he's like in a club with a cocktails, and he's just telling them a droll joke about the gold standard, and then just has scene missing, and it's like him in a gutter. It was very much like that kind of a thing where I was like, yes, the train station, very good. Yes, okay. Shall we go and have one swift ale at this public house? And then just, and it's the day after. It's like, where's my wallet? Where's all my stuff? There was that guy that was standing really close to me at the bar.
Dang.
And you're like, yeah, probably because he was taking my wallet. But never mind. Tom's a legend, and it's unfortunate that I don't like the place he's from.
to sum up,
he's a great guy, however.
So,
And I don't think Tom took my wallet to answer Nell's question.
one thing I'm curious about is, does anybody know if authz supports Ledger, or is it that REStake doesn't support Ledger?
Isn't it that authz doesn't support Ledger because there's an upstream Cosmos thing? I think I saw a Simon Water blog post about that.
yeah, I think that's how I understood it as well.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was an authz issue, like a core Tendermint issue that didn't support that for some reason. But yeah,
That's kind of what I figured, but that makes it unfortunate then. Because then all of us who use Ledger don't get to jack in.
which I assume will be solved. I think it's just a matter of maturity and those types of things. But and also I think the other thing just to call this out is I think Tom did a great job here. Not only in terms of releasing this for both delegators as well as validators and across multiple chains that support authz, but also to do so in a way that holds the integrity of the validator delegate, right? So like he made tough decisions to say, hey, you can only stake 3 validators because we want to control costs, because validators pay the fees for that restake. Not the delegator does not. I don't know if people know that or not, but validator basically builds a wallet that has enough coin to be able to cover the fee structure for that automatic transaction, because basically as a validator, we're running that transaction in your behalf and saying, hey, take the fees out of our wallet to be able to do that. And so to make that less miserable, costly, whatever, so he limits it to 3, right? The easy way out would be to run one transaction, which allows you to pull the delegation from all validators and just stake it to yourself. And we did know of somebody else in the ecosystem that did that, and a little investigation of what was going on there, and wasn't really clear around how that was working. And I don't think the delegate really knew that. I don't know if that was really communicated well. And Tom stayed away from that. Like he built a restriction on the product side to limit it to 3 validators that would be more of an impact on the delegator, to be able to hold the sanctity of how that person chose to deliver and how to distribute delegations to the validator set, which I thought was just awesome. Like, just the right thing to do, and like it was just such an upstanding Cosmos Schultzy type of thing. What'd you say at the beginning of this podcast? That was exactly whatever beautiful thing you said at the beginning of this thing is exactly in line with what you said, right? Which is awesome.
Holistically wholesome, I think is the word I used.
I mean, how else can you describe this product than holistically wholesome?
It really is. And I'll be on Twitter and someone message me and say, hey, I'm having this issue. And then half the time Tom will already be on my Twitter
Respond
thread
to
helping
it.
someone before I even
Right.
get to him. I'm like,
Right.
really? How did you just pop in there?
Hey, you know what really helped me was Tom at EcoStake. Fill out this Google form.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
This
So
is, when we,
Tom-
this is when we find out that Tom's launching an EcoStake coin, and it's just a long rug.
Huge rug
And he
pull. Massive.
rugs, and he rugs
I want to
all
be
of
in
us
that Genesis
validators on
set.
this call.
For literally
Like,
tens of thousands of dollars, right? Like it's gonna wait till it gets to $8,000 and then rug pull it.
So I don't know if you guys know, but Tom's also involved with like a bunch of Akash stuff. Like he contributes a lot to Akash as well with Cosmos Omnibus, which is where you can deploy nodes from his repo onto Akash. It's a really good repository as well. And he was also building a, I'm not sure where this ended up. I haven't checked back with him, but he was building a website to actually deploy sort of nodes, not nodes, just to do deployments onto Akash through a website instead of having to do it through the CLI, because it can be quite cumbersome to new users. But so how do you guys how is it going with your nodes with the with REStake? Are you is it going well? How's the bots going? Are you burning through lots of gas? I know that for me, for example, it's probably more expensive to do this endeavor with Juno. It burns a little bit of money with those fees, but not so much on Stargaze. But they're the only two that I use. I haven't had any trouble with the bot. I did initially, but after sorting out how it runs and the frequency at which it runs, I haven't had too much issue with that afterwards. And I haven't been getting any complaints about it not running, and the logs seem to be fine. So does anyone else have any experience, like want to share any of their experience with it? Or
I hit my first bug yesterday, and Ghost had to swoop in this morning and help me. Last night, he and I both updated our bot, and I guess it killed the Docker container. So I woke up and Ghost was like, "Hey, I guess it turns out you updated last night as well, and you have to like clean the orphans and do a rebuild, whatever." But so it didn't run at all last night when I was saying I would run every 15 minutes for Cerberus. So that was a bummer.
yeah, so is that the optimum time now for Cerberus?
That's about the fastest you can go. Anything faster than that, and it just kills itself off.
I suppose it depends on
A
how
little bit
many
too much.
people are also sort of on there. So it has to get to the end of the list, and it's not fast going through the list. So I mean, room for improvement. We kind of need to sort out batching on that, I think, and Tom might need some help with that. But adding everything up and batching it into transactions and throwing it out would be, I think, much faster than sort of doing it one at a time. Potentially save a lot of gas as well. And
Right.
I think he's got that on the development path. Just a lot of things to take care of. But it's a great. I really love the interface. It's so clean and it's pretty intuitive. He's done a great job.
You guys know Stake Free?
Sure.
I mean, I've seen the validator on the list. Yeah.
Yep.
So he's been using Tom's sort of UI to build a complete view of your wallet. And so he had built like yesterday, but REStake just shipped today using Tom's like code and overall platform. And I think that's just fantastic that, someone was able to build something using the existing code. So.
I mean, I think it's going to be also interesting. Like, like what we were talking about earlier with like how early we are on the rug pulling. The more positive corollary of that, I think, is that like it's so early. Think of all the innovation in rug pulling that we're going to see in the ecosystem. It's really just makes me so excited. The like fucking S tier rug pulls we're going to see. No, obviously the rug pull's back, but like a more positive version of this is like I think so. Let's try and be holistically wholesome, right? I feel challenged to do this, right?
I love holistically wholesome.
Is that going to become like my catchphrase?
Not just. I mean, this is already the holistically wholesome.
Lavender 5, holistically wholesome.
Exactly. We should get
What you
t-shirts
do now.
printed. That's all
It
I'm
should
saying.
be,
like,
that's got to be his description on his validator now. Holistically.
holistically wholesome.
Yeah.
I'm
I wonder what
I'm
that
going to go away
translates
from
to
this and
into
immediately
Japanese.
start tweeting it at you. But like, you know, like one of the things I think that, you know, Juno have always been trying to do is to like kind of be as good as we can about making the ecosystem approachable, whether that's for validators, which I think we have done. Like, people keep telling us our docs are pretty good and that they use them for other chains and stuff. And yeah, we've sort of also seen other chains using bits and pieces of our docs. And obviously a lot of our docs are not just from one place. Like, your Stargaze helped with some early versions of the Juno docs and blah, 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 blah. But
Sure.
like,
Yep.
but like one of the big things that like Juno's been focused on, whether it's docs, whether it's people, whether it's whatever, is getting people into the ecosystem to do X, Y, Z from other walks of technical life, or maybe not technical life at all, you know, non-engineers and whatnot. And obviously Tom is not a newcomer to any of this stuff, but the fact that there is now like this kind of bed of tech that is now been developed for the ecosystem, and it's spanning things like validator tooling, RPC tooling, smart contracts, and all that sort of stuff. I genuinely think like this year we're going to see, I mean, and I think we already are seeing that, a huge increase of tooling and cool stuff available, purely because it's not like you have to start from absolute zero, you know.
Right.
Like even an absolutely stupid thing would be like, for us, we launched Name Service. It's quite a noddy small project in the grand scheme of things, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff we're working on with other teams who people want to integrate with it or build additional products on top or whatever. And just like there was one where we literally just were able to copy and paste that code, delete everything that wasn't related to the core. This is how you get up and running with Cosmosm. You just move on, and you're like, there, done. Anybody could fork that code and do exactly the same thing, like test scripts, deploy scripts that are in the name. So name service test script is actually how we CI Juno, for example, for smart contracts, because again, had to write it once, didn't want to write it again. It's like, well, actually, this does the job we need.
Yep.
DAO's similar. They did. I mean, they actually, again, a lot of the name service test script stuff was based on stuff that Ben 2x4 wrote for Juno Swap, and then it made it into DAO, and then it made it into name service, and it just gets refined every time somebody else has hands on it, right? And all this sort of stuff, you know, like you know, you guys have all done test nets for Juno, right? You know, the testnet CI stuff, which is all about validating and running testnets quickly. That's several versions of remove away from something I think Regen used, you know. And I don't know, like I'm kind of really excited by that now that we're at like beginning to be at like a critical mass of engineers point where all of this tooling is just going to come along really quickly. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, I think another point to be brought into that is Cosmos is interesting because if you join the Cosmos as an engineer, you're already kind of joining this massive scale. If you join, say, Near's fantastic. I absolutely love Near, but you're still kind of relegated to this one chain. Whereas Cosmos, as soon as you create one tool, you can immediately jack it into all these different chains. I think there's something really special to be said about that. Maybe I kind of got a little off topic, but
I mean, I think the model of the Cosmos SDK and Starport being able to just like launch your own chain, whether you have extensive experience in blockchain or you're brand new to it, it's able to connect you with just like this amazing group of individuals that are, you know, selfless and want to see the technology progress. And so I think that, you know, echoing your point, where we as validators are providing one shard of the infrastructure needed to actually run the chain, there's now the opportunity to build all these tools on top of it. And so I think we're going to see just an explosion to follow the sort of burst of map of zones activity in the tooling that then supports it.
So I think this is actually probably a good point to we're trying to impose a format on this podcast as we do it, and we're going to be doing this every week at 2300 UTC, right here on this channel. But we have a final question for this first episode, which I think, given how holistically wholesome that bit was,
wholesome.
I think I'd like to ask everybody else on here. Especially I think we need like this kind of positivity as well, because I think the last week has been very publicly contentious.
What?
What are you talking about?
What hasn't? What about?
What are you talking about?
It's been
I wonder
so
why.
nice.
So hang on before you. So potentially the phrase, we should just say that we purposely haven't talked about that on this
We
podcast.
purposely have not talked about it.
Yeah. So we're not ignoring it. We
Purposely not
purposely haven't talked about it because it's already.
I think everything that can be said about it
has been said.
On Twitter,
And
you mean?
it's so polarizing that we just don't really want to talk about that here. But I think so. Just going on with your final question that you were going to ask to everybody about what we're most excited about in the cosmos going, for the next week. Well, I'm going to butt in and say, so I can, win and say that I got it first, is that I'm actually most excited to see more development in the governance area of Cosmos. Certainly, at least chains having some sort of structure around themselves, like the constitutions that we're seeing starting to come forward, and potentially some development of the governance module that may allow for some different parameters in voting rather than just the one set hard parameters. Because, in proposals like recent ones that we've seen, maybe 3 days isn't enough. Maybe, that needs a different amount of quorum. Maybe it needs a different amount of, pass vote. It's not a one thing fits everything type of situation. So I'm excited to see some development in governance, and I'm excited to see where it leads to. Sorry to cut you off.
Well, I mean, that's a really good answer, and I'll go and then I'll hand it over to other people on the call. I think one of the things that's been most exciting about Prop 16 is seeing the limits of this system that we're working in, and also the fact that, like you say, there are limitations to the way we can do governance, but there are really interesting and quite obvious paths for how that stuff might work in future. And back to what we were talking about earlier as well, the stuff with Stargaze and their phenomenal Genesis mint, that was really exciting. There are more mints coming to Stargaze. That's a thing that I'm really excited about. But I think it's the combination of what we've seen on Stargaze, which is like how we provision infrastructure to do next gen projects, and how we do governance to do, well, maybe not next gen governance, but certainly on-chain governance in the way you described, Noel, is actually a lot of that stuff is what I'm working on behind the scenes at the moment. There's nothing I can really announce on that yet, but there's some. But that's certainly what's exciting to me about this whole Prop 16 situation, is it's kind of validated for me a lot of thoughts that I'd had, and I've sort of seen them play out, and I'm now like, okay, I am working on something that maybe has value here. So I'm also excited about similar stuff, I think. Jabby, would you like to go next? I'm guessing you're excited about your final 10,000 Pupmos subs face reveal, right?
Oh yeah, yes. I mean, I'm most excited about Pupmos finally revealing what Pupmos is. I mean, we've read the white pupper. Some of us have translated it into pup speak. I have no idea what exactly to expect, but I mean, I think the release of Pupmos or whatever that stems from it is probably the most exciting.
I just figured out how to do that, by the way. Just double click, comes up.
I'll give that a go.
Learning new things.
It's amazing.
Schultzy?
What we're excited for with how it relates to Prop 16 or just in general?
No, just in general of the Cosmos. What are you
Okay.
excited for going for the next week? Because I'm going to ask you again. Well, the phrase going to ask you again next week.
I've got nothing for the next week specifically, but man, I had a meeting with the Interchain Foundation today, and we talked a bunch about interchain accounts. And first of all, as a relayer, this puts the absolute fear in me. Now relaying is absurdly expensive, and this will just like ramp it up to 1,000, whereas right now it's at like 2. But like for the long-term vision of the Cosmos, I think that this is going to be just absolutely incredible. It's going to be so cool whenever, the concept of the Cosmos Hub can be truly like the Cosmos Hub. You have your Atom account, but it can control anything you have over all of the different chains. And that kind of sounds, not that amazing at first glance, but thinking about what kind of like dApps you could interact with without having to like visibly change accounts. It's just, I'm so excited for it. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. And I think it's really going to help differentiate the Cosmos even further.
Awesome. Usurper? You're thinking? I saw you
No, I was thinking for this week. I think all 4 of your answers are really, really strong and things I'm looking forward to as well. I think the governance one will be longer than a week. It seems like that might be dragged till the end of this year or early next year. Oh, Joe just left. I think this week I'm hoping for some movement on Evmos. We've had a stall here, you guys know, a couple weeks ago, and the team is, I think, spending the time and the effort to regroup and do it right. And they've kind of been in the tank, as you call it, right, and trying to decide what's next and those types of things. So I'm hoping to see some kind of direction out of that group and figure out where we're going from here, because that project has a lot of potential and it has a lot of value to the ecosystem. So I'm hoping to see like some stability and kind of get away from, I think we're kind of rushing towards down this path and throwing things out and trying to get to do what we needed to do. And next thing you know, we're stalled and everything else is over. So I'm hoping that we've learned some lessons as a group from that. And now that thing, kind of takes off, because it's a valuable, inclusion to this ecosystem. And I'm hoping that it goes somewhere. So that's my hope for this week.
I think that's a really great call out. I was deeply afraid that they were going to like try and jumpstart it like 2 days after it died.
Right.
I was like, this isn't going to go great. But the fact that they're taking a step back and reconsidering and regrouping, I think is in my opinion, a really positive sign.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Impressed that they're standing back and thinking about it before just aping into getting it going again.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because there were like, it's a lot of, as you say, Usurper, there's a lot of lessons learned in that environment when something goes wrong. And maybe, other chains can learn for this, or even other validators, about when things start to go pear-shaped. Sure. Maybe it's just better to step back and say, look, have some leadership and the chain devs or something saying, things aren't going right. Maybe we should step back a little bit and come up with a new time, and we'll, try to restart it, because we end up in this situation where, everyone's at different stages and the chain starts to stall, and it's just almost irrecoverable. And I think, that needs to be looked into more.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people can kind of view in these situations like validators as all validators are one thing. And I'm just talking to one. But like these types of coordination across 100 or 125 or 150 different groups across, how many time zones, and trying to communicate, and like it is as much of a people problem that it is a technology problem. I would think it's probably 80% people and 20% technology, honestly, and just getting communication and how do you coordinate across this many people, across this half or sleep and this and that and everything else. It's a really difficult problem. And so clear communication, slow steps, like it's a really important piece out of all this. And so I think they clearly learned that lesson, not like the way that you want to learn it, but we clearly, it was a tough situation with trying to push out a security update and everything else with that, but still that doesn't necessarily mean that you can get 67% of validators to do exactly what you want to do at the time you want to do it, because that doesn't happen. Right.
And there is no contingency plan either. You throw the new binary at it, and then you try to
if they don't
link up.
If you don't do it, then just stop. And sometimes it always seems like we're one away. Like we just need one more person to wake up. Or it's always one more. We just need one more.
66 is like my nightmare number. or like 69, and then you're like, why didn't it start?
Yeah,
nice.
It's a different number.
Yeah, during Cerberus, it was like 69.69, and like 18 of us were like, nice, all in a row.
Screenshot.
Yeah.
While it stops. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mad Cat, don't know where Putmos is. He can come on as a guest.
It's Winston
On this call? Not on this call?
He's already here. He's down there.
Yeah, he's already here. He's down there somewhere.
He's very sneaky.
No way.
I've just realised, of course, they've probably done that thing where we are all seeing a different tiling of everybody, aren't we?
Could be. I'm not sure.
So if everybody points to Putmos,
Down that way over there, right?
See, there we go.
Yeah. I think
It's
we
backwards.
did.
Yeah.
there you are, Mad Cat. Does that answer your question? Where is Putmos?
I'm not Putmos.
You keep saying that. It's this typical Putmos thing to say.
That is exactly what Putmos would say.
I've seen The Life of Brian. I know how this goes.
That's right.
I am the Messiah. He is the Messiah.
Oh.
So for next week, so Jack's going to join us next week. He's going to be a regular on the show as well. And some people have asked if we'll get guests. I think we'll potentially try and have some guests on here, even if they're just like pop-ins and not here for the whole thing, or if they want to be here for the whole thing. But if anyone is out there and wants to actually be, sorry,
I've checked the terms of service, and we can apparently have up to 10 people on this mad show.
I think that could
before it will
be
break StreamYard. So yeah, we can definitely have guests, and it will be crazy.
So I think we're open to that, right? The phrase. So anyone who wants to be a guest on the show, contact any of us. Probably directed at probably me or the Fray.
There we go.
And Whisper Node's on. Here we go.
There we go. An evening with Whisper Node. It's going to be singing all the hits from the Rat Pack, obviously.
So I'll put in here guest Whisper Node.
Yeah, and if anybody else has any suggestions for topics they want to cover, things they want to ask, for us as validators, or obviously we all do various other things. Jabby's Putmos, of course. I do decentralized name service. Schultz is also doing dev in various other guises, including you are helping some stuff out with Strange Love, right?
I am. Jabby's doing stuff with Strange Love, I believe.
Yeah. Joe is.
Jabby's doing stuff with Strange Love. So
Yeah.
there are various people, various projects. If you have questions, ask us on Twitter and we can raise them on the show, or we can put them as topics for next show. We're still kind of working out the format a little bit. So tell us what was interesting, tell us what was less interesting, and we can kind of refine what we're doing here a little bit so that everybody's getting their money's worth. Because depending on your time zone, I appreciate, like, certainly for me, it is midnight now. So I totally appreciate anybody in the Europe time zone who has bothered to listen to us this late at night. Thank you very much for listening.
I'm nearing midday, and it's been fantastic that it's not 3 a.m.
Next time.
Yeah,
we can only do the podcast.
I totally just ruined your sign off.
Chain upgrades, though, we're gonna.
If I ever launch a chain, you're up at 3 a.m. every upgrade.
Every upgrade.
I absolutely love the fact that I am actually planning a test net that I think you're in.
Perfect.
Null in the next week, and I have the power to decide when you should be up for it. So
2300 UTC is an exceptional time to do anything.
I think it is.
Yeah, that's definitely what I've just written in the Genesis file. 2300 UTC, a very rational time for a British person on UTC to write.
Perfect.
100% of the time I'm going to go for. So yeah, to address the questions in the comments, this will be a weekly podcast. It's going to be the same time every week, 2300 hours UTC on a Wednesday. sometimes, yes, so we sometimes will have guests on. If you would like to, we don't have a Twitter for the show exactly, but we have individual Twitters for everybody on this show. So Lavender5, Joe Abbey, Usurper, Null Mames. Mine is Frey Needlecast. If you want to follow any of us, we'll post about this. And of course, you can like and subscribe on YouTube, and you'll get notifications of when we're going live on the show. And I think that's about it. Does anybody else have anything else they want to say before we sod off and I go to bed?
Well, just on the back of that, I think we should probably throw up a. I'm not going to say it. Yeah. I was going to say. I was like, well, then maybe that.
It's a point you have to say it right then.
No, well, I guess we'll get. No, I'm not even going to say it. Let's just sign off. Thanks everybody for coming to see us.
Cheers.
See you next week.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.